How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today I want to go over why Hyliion and why Workhorse I believe are really good buys going forward, and why companies like Nikola and Xpeng and NIO are a little bit riskier. So I'm going to go over some recent news, a recent IPO, and then talk about how it kind of relates to the whole sector, the whole EV and whole auto market sector, because the EV market is growing at such an exponential rate that it has almost reached up to the classic car makers, classic car manufacturers that you would think of in your daily life. We also have some news on a kind of a big contract that's from Mercedes-Benz and Amazon, and it's for electric vehicles. So I want to go over that and kind of what it means for the market in general. So before we do that, if you don't mind hitting the like button, I really appreciate it. This is a double upload day, so that means a lot when you hit that like button. Also, if you want to comment what you think about this below and what of these stocks you're buying, I'd appreciate that too. And if you want, there is just a very short time frame left to get 2 free stocks on WeBull if you deposit $100 or more. That stops on September 1. So if you want to get those stocks, you should definitely do it sooner rather than later, because after that, it's just going to give you 1 free stock worth a little bit less. So if you want to get in now, I think that's a great opportunity. So let's take a look. Xpeng, who is a Chinese EV maker, had their IPO this week. It started at $10, and just like typical EV IPO action, what you would expect is for it to go up like crazy. So it went up to $23, and it's just stayed around 22, 23 over the last couple days, and the IPO was just Thursday. So this has gone up like crazy very quickly. They were able to raise a lot of money from this IPO, and it's kind of crazy when you look at this market in general, because the EV market is becoming such a much larger part of the whole automaker market that it's almost engulfing some of the other classic car manufacturers. So let's take a look at here. This is an article. Xpeng stock is hot. Here's how much the EV industry is worth. And I have noticed this over the last couple months that the EV industry still doesn't have a lot of the sales, but it has a huge market capitalization. So as you can see here, the market cap for this EV sector is almost 500 billion. And the full non-EV sector is about 589. So what they mean by the traditional car companies, that includes GM, Ford, Chrysler Fiat, Volkswagen, and several others. You know, you have Kia, Toyota, Honda, a lot of those that you would probably know the name of anyways. And then the EV list includes Tesla, Xpeng, Li Auto, NIO, Fisker, Canoo, and Lordstown Motors. So they didn't include Hyliion, and they didn't include, I believe it is Workhorse, because they are both kind of different. They're in niche markets. They also didn't include Nikola, because those are semi-trucks and final mile delivery vehicle car companies. So they didn't include those in there, but as you can see, that's a major part. The EV sector is almost the same as the traditional car companies. So you would think that hopefully they're getting good sales, but if you look at this too, the deliveries are so different. You have about 400,000 deliveries for 2019 for EV, and then you have about 56 million deliveries. So that's a massive difference, about 150 times difference in the normal traditional cars that they're selling versus the EV cars. Now, I think over the next 10 years, there'll be a huge change in that. I think we might get up to 25 or 50% EV. As people trade in, the EV cars are probably going to be just as cheaper, and they're a lot cooler, they're a lot faster, they're a lot better for the environment. There might be some benefits in multiple ways to buying these EV cars. So it's really interesting to see. The sales still aren't there, which I think is okay, but let's take a look, because I think Hyliion and I think Workhorse are still really good opportunities. So Hyliion is right around $1 billion now. They are a part, and they are merging with Tortoise acquisition. They are doing a SPAC merger. So they have an $800 billion market opportunity, as they've said before, but their market cap is still only $1 billion. This is why I think that there's a lot of opportunity with Hyliion still, because even if they get a small percentage, even if they get 0.1% of the total market, that's $800 million a year. That is a massive amount of revenue for them, just with a $1 billion market cap. So I think that since they're going to grow, and since they're going to keep I think, expanding, that there's still a lot of opportunity here. I don't think that's overvalued. Of course, you have to take a look at their earnings. Of course, that's one of the best indicators for, whether it's a growth company or a value company. They are definitely a growth company. Hyliion and Workhorse aren't making much money now, but they have large opportunities in front of them. The other one that I really like is Workhorse. So this is all over YouTube, but they have a chance at about an $18 billion addressable market, but there's less competition here. So there are less companies, I think, making these final mile delivery vehicles, as opposed to Hyliion is working and fighting against Nikola, which is fighting against Tesla and some other semi-truck companies. But Workhorse is got a much smaller market, less competition. They are working for a $6 billion opportunity right now with USPS. But even if they just get a third of that because they want to split it up and there are 3 remaining final mile delivery companies left in the race, even if they split 3 ways, and they're doing this over a 5-year period, so $2 billion over 5 years, $400 million a year, that's still pretty good. That's a large amount of revenue because they're about a $1.5 to $2 billion company right now. So if they continue to grow, if they lock down this contract and some other contracts, that's going to be good. I think that they still have a lot of opportunity too. So let's take a look at something like Nikola, right? So Nikola is a 16 billion market cap company, and they've not sold a car yet. They have not mass produced a car yet. So something like this is something that would scare me, right? So Workhorse, Hyliion, they're $1 to $2 billion market caps. This is a $16 billion market cap, and they don't have a product yet. Now, we can look at something like Tesla too, which is a $412 billion market cap. Of course, they are by far the most well-known car company that's in the EV sector. I think they have a lot of opportunity. They're not just a car company. They're kind of a tech company. They're working on battery technology. They have solar roofs. They have a whole bunch of stuff going for them. But they are $413 billion, right? So there's no car company that's close to them. The other car company that's closest in market cap is Toyota, and they sell millions of cars each year, and they have about a half of their market cap. They're not really the visionary that Tesla is, but still, they're half the market cap. So the main fear that I have in the EV sector is the fact that there are other car companies that are still going EV. So I think a lot of people are kind of forgetting this when they see a new EV stock on IPO, or maybe they see a new EV stock which they think is going to take over the market. All the classic car manufacturers aren't going to just lay down and just not even compete for the EV space. They have the distribution, they have the production, they have the marketing. They already have a lot of hands in different places to be able to sell electric vehicles. So I think they're going to start being a major player in the EV space over the next 2 to 5 years. If we look at GM, they're already making a EV Cadillac. There already are other companies too that are trying to get into other sectors. So for example, if you didn't see the news this week, Amazon bought a huge amount of these electric Mercedes-Benz vans in an effort to go more green. So they're buying 1,800 of these electric delivery vans, and this is kind of big news, right? So there are other companies like Workhorse in this space that are the final mile delivery, but they didn't get it. Mercedes-Benz got it. I think this kind of reminds us that, hey, these other companies have a lot of money, they have a lot of talent, they have marketing, they have distribution, they have production, they have everything they need. They just need to produce the vehicle, put in the R&D to make it, and then sell it to different companies, right? So unlike all these other companies, like even like Workhorse or Hyliion, where they'll eventually need to scale. So right now they can kind of do what they need to do at a small level, but if they get big contracts, they're going to have to expand, they're going to have to raise capital, they're going to have to dilute shares. Something like Mercedes-Benz already has all that set up. They just need the tech, and they need to actually make the vehicles, they need to get the contracts, and then they ship them out. So these other car companies are much farther along in that way, while the EV sector might just be further along in technology and the design. So definitely be careful when you're investing in some of these, I'd say, bigger market cap but low sale EV sector stocks, because something like Tesla already has their brand name. They already have a wide audience that is kind of following them. They're really well known. But compared to something like Nikola or NIO or these other sectors, their names aren't as well known. they are trading at a huge multiple, right? Their P ratio is very expensive. Something like NIO is in China though, so they might do really well over there. Tesla might do really well over here. But then how much market is left for some of these smaller EV players, especially when you consider some of these bigger companies getting into the EV space, like GM, like Ford, like Mercedes-Benz. It's going to be some tough competition over the coming years, but hopefully these companies like Workhorse and Hyliion are in a small enough sector and are able to kind of take over the sector and be able to produce some really good earnings for us. I am a shareholder in Workhorse. I plan on buying Hyliion. I'm also an owner in Tesla, so just a disclosure about all those up front. But I wouldn't lie to you. I think that these companies and these stocks are going to do well going forward. But let me know your thoughts below. I appreciate you guys watching this. This is just kind of my thought on the whole sector in general, what we have to look forward to, what we should be cautious of going forward. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. And again, use those links below if you want some free stocks or if you want to start investing with M1 Finance. They're my favorite investing app. So let me know your thoughts below. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.